Hello everyone and welcome to UPSCprep.com. My name is Nimish Kapoor and we are starting with this week's IR Week in Review. So this week we are covering from 5th September to 11th of September 2025. And some of the important takeaways this week. Number one, political crisis in Nepal. Well, what has happened in Nepal? What are the implications for India? Well, mass protests led by Nepal's generation Gen Z erupted, prompting widespread violence. Now, it is attributed to Gen Z, but there are some hidden causes as well. Some state or non-state actors hiding behind could have disrupted, but we are not sure. What it is termed as is Gen Z revolution. Okay, so what they did is, what led up to Gen Z to come out and protest, burn up the buildings, beat up the ministers. Why they did that? And now we have an interim government in place. As of now, only the interim prime minister. But how it all happened? So if we talk about broadly reasons, number one, Gen Z discontent. There has been continuous frustration in Nepal over rising corruption, the luxurious lifestyles of leaders, also their kids, which it is also somewhere known as a nepo kids. They have been posting their pictures, the politicians' children living in ultra luxury lifestyle. That lack of accountability is there in the government. Youth unemployment is above 20%. And that resulted in mass discontent. But one of the major immediate trigger for this became that government banned 26 major social media platforms. As you know, Gen Z are very active on social media, and the area where there is their freedom of expression, when they felt that it was being disrupted, citing regulatory reasons, this was seen as an attempt at censorship. So social media is a main channel of expression of young Nepalis, and its removal triggered immediate nationwide demonstrations. Extreme state response. The first day of the protest, state responded like the police fired on the Gen Z protesters. And what happened? Over 20 deaths. And this further resulted into all cities where people rose against the government. And immediately Home Minister resigned of Nepal, followed by next day Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, also resigned. Now, what would be the impact on India's troubled neighborhood? How it can impact India? See, India has a long boundary with Nepal, and this boundary is open. Usually SSB is there, but it does not have fencing. So it can lead to security threats. Instability and rise of extremist ideologies in neighboring country in long term can lead to directly challenge India's internal security. The porous border with Nepal is a concern for movement of radical groups. There can be diplomatic challenges. Like now, India is home to a very volatile neighborhood. In Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh, in Myanmar, in Sri Lanka, we've seen how things have happened, how there has been instability in the region. And it will be another diplomatic challenge for India to manage Nepal. India's foreign policy bandwidth is often consumed by managing crises in its immediate vicinity, leaving less room to focus on its extended neighborhood and its aspiration to be a global power. India wants a stable neighborhood which will be in benefit of all. Economic consequences. Instability can disrupt trade routes and tourism, as seen in recent Nepal crisis, which affected flights and border movements. Additionally, India may face the burden of economic support and humanitarian aid, which India has to provide. Domestic spillover, political spillover. So issues from neighboring countries such as ethnic or communal conflicts can also influence domestic politics in India, especially border states with shared populations and cultural ties. If you look at the Nepal on map, as I said, Uttarakhand state is one, and there is this issue with Kalapani border. This is one of the persistent issues for the last few years between India and Nepal. It's in Pithoragarh district in Kumaon region of Uttarakhand. Then there is Uttar Pradesh. Then there is Bihar. And then there is West Bengal. Now these are the states which have boundary adjoining Nepal. Nepal on the north, there's China, and this route is often used, even this route is used for Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. Okay, Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal. There are some very important cities like Pokhara and some other cities as well. So let's come to the second important event of this week is BRICS Virtual Summit, which happened. So BRICS Virtual Summit, now it was organized by Brazil. And why? Because 50% tariffs were imposed by US on both India and Brazil. So there is a growing concerns in the world over US tariff tussle. So the main agenda of this discussion, BRICS, was this tariffs being imposed by US. India's stand during the summit was that international trading systems' foundational principles of non-discriminatory and rule-based norm must be protected, especially under the aegis of WTO, World Trade Organization. And rule-based norms must be protected, and that there is need to create more resilient and reliable supply chains. Constructive and cooperative approaches are needed by the world to promote sustainable trade. Now, all the heads of BRICS attended except Indian Prime Minister. In place of him, Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was a part of virtual BRICS summit. Now, what is BRICS? BRICS is an acronym that refers to a group of 5 countries. Majorly, I'll talk about its expansion. So 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia and UAE have joined BRICS. Now UAE as of now, Saudi Arabia as of now, it's not been confirmed. The term BRIC was originally coined by economist Jim O'Neill in 2001. Okay. As a formal grouping, BRICS started after the meeting of the leaders of Russia, India and China in St. Petersburg in the margins of G8 summit outreach in 2006. This G8 is now G7. Grouping was formalized during first meeting of BRIC foreign ministers on margins of UN General Assembly in New York. Initially, the grouping was termed BRIC, and South Africa later joined it in 2010, making it BRICS. The grouping have met annually at formal summits. Every year they meet formally. India is hosting next year. Each country takes 1 year chairmanship. Okay, BRICS bring about 49% of global population. That is why US is concerned, and 40% of global GDP. BRICS countries have come together to deliberate on important issues under 3 pillars, which are political and security, economic and financial, and cultural and people-to-people exchanges. There's one bank, New Development Bank, which is part of BRICS, is a multilateral development bank established by BRICS states. The banks support public or private projects through loans, guarantees, equity, participation, and other financial instruments. What is the relevance of BRICS? See, BRICS can act as alternative to Western blocs. Like G7, as you can already see, G7 is something which, in fact, total number of population is much more as compared to G7. Even the GDP is more with the BRICS countries than G7. So, of course, BRICS can act as an alternative to the Western blocs. Yeah, even UN Security Council, World Bank represents growing economic and demographic heft or shift. We can see that the demographic economic shift is more towards the east. It can be seen in the BRICS. The 11 BRICS countries now comprise more than a quarter of the global economy. One more thing, Indonesia also joined BRICS. Okay, it's also a member of BRICS, Indonesia. The group is poised to exert influence over the wars in Gaza Strip and Ukraine, advocate for greater global representation. It is an united front of emerging economy perspectives and multilateral institutions. As you know, India is a champion for multilateralism and talks about that is why India termed BRICS as not a anti-Western grouping but a non-Western grouping. Okay. Coordinate economic policy. So after 2008 economic crisis, BRICS have acted as to maintain global economic stability, reduce reliance on the US dollar, and create an alternate finance system. What is the significance of BRICS for India? It is a platform for strategic autonomy. India can use its own strategic autonomy. What is strategic autonomy? That India can take its own sovereign decisions without any pressure. So BRICS act as a medium where India says that yes, we'll participate in BRICS because we have our own interests, we have our own concerns, we have our own demands which we need to cater to of our own people, and that is why BRICS is important for us. It is not an anti-West grouping, but a non-West grouping. It will enhance global influence through larger bloc for India. India is a champion of global South, India, and this BRICS bring together the concerns of global South. Strategic engagement with the Middle East. Through this, India is engaging, like UAE has become part, Saudi Arabia is most likely to accept also. So it will help. BRICS is an organization which will help in strategic engagement with the Middle East, push for multilateral reforms, and counterbalance to China's dominance in terms of that it won't just act, China will act alone, but China through the groupings of last week we talked about SCO, through BRICS, it will bring China on a table with other countries and talk about multilateral, the structure for global geopolitics or global institutional reforms which is required in future. What are the challenges with respect to BRICS? There are some internal geopolitical tensions among BRICS members like India and China. There's asymmetry in power and influence. For example, China is very, very powerful, nearly $20 trillion of economy, and the second number is India with 4 trillion. Third being Russia, 2 trillion. And then there are countries like South Africa, which is much lower. So there is asymmetry in power and influence. Plus, the newer countries like Ethiopia does not have that much influence. Lack of cohesive vision is there. Members pursue divergent national interests, limiting collective action. Institutional limitations are there. BRICS has no permanent secretariat. Okay, economic disparities are there, as I've told you, between the members. Different stages of economic development. So members are not just developed countries. China, you can say, have a very high per capita income. On the other hand, there are countries like Ethiopia, India, which has low per capita income. So there are income disparities, economic disparities within the bloc. Expansion related challenges are there. The inclusion of new members adds diversity but also increases coordination complexity and risks diluting the original. So every document, every discussion is based on consensus. More the members, difficult it is to come to a consensus, right? Now let's look at the third important India-Singapore 2025 summit. So it was in news because recently Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong in New Delhi. So outcomes of the summit were maritime security and Malacca Strait patrol. Both countries discussed. India showed expression of interest that we want to do a joint patrolling. Why? Given the fact that this is a strategic choke point. And if India gets access to this Malacca Strait, it may be very important. I'll come to the map. It will be very, very important for India. It will become very important for India that whenever it has the regional issue, specifically with China, it can have a strategic stronghold in the region. 90% of China Strait passes through Malacca Strait. Collaboration in submarine rescue operations, support for Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative. Both have collaborated now in submarine rescue operations. Defense and emerging technologies, both countries will be working together in terms of joint research. Economic infrastructure and cooperation, right? Enhanced cooperation in space research and applications, both countries will be working. India-Singapore policy dialogue on semiconductors has also been established. Skilled and advanced manufacturing, again, both countries have come together to work, have come to an agreement to set up a national center of excellence for skilling and advanced manufacturing in Chennai. And counter-terrorism and security cooperation has also been strengthened. So as of now, let's look at the brief India-Singapore relations. Historical ties go back to ancient times through maritime trade and Buddhism. Modern relations strengthened after Singapore's independence in 1965. Singapore was among the first ASEAN countries to support India's Look East policy, now known as Act East policy. 2015 marked 50 years of diplomatic relations. Regular joint exercises are conducted between Singapore and India, like SIMBEX, naval exercise, Bold Kurukshetra army exercise, Agni Warrior artillery exercise. There are economic and trade relations, like comprehensive economic cooperation agreement has been signed between India and Singapore since 2005, which covers trade, services and investments. Singapore is among India's largest trade and investment partners in the ASEAN region. Singapore is also the leading source of FDI into India. There's multilateral cooperation, strong partners. So Singapore is part of ASEAN, East Asia Summit, Indian Ocean Rim Association, Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, FATF, World Trade Organization, United Nations and Commonwealth. So there are multiple areas where India is multilaterally also having close relationship with Singapore. Now we'll look at some of the news in shorts. So exercise zapad 2025. Indian contingent, armed forces contingent, has departed for Russia to take part in multilateral joint military exercise zapad. It's a multilateral exercise. More than 20 countries are participating, including China, Pakistan as well. Notably, for the first time since Operation Sindoor, India and Pakistani armies will take part in same military drill. The exercise aimed at enhancing military cooperation, improving interoperability, and providing a platform for participating armies to exchange tactics. Now, you might think why India will be doing it with Pakistan, but the thing is, India and Pakistan are different groups of exercises. Okay, India-Israel bilateral investment agreement highlights. Now, very important, India and Israel have signed this bilateral investment agreement. So this is expected to significantly increase cross-border investment between both the countries, which stand as of now from Israel to India $800 million. Agreement aims to attract more capital flows, especially in sectors like innovation, high technology, fintech, digital payment, cybersecurity, infrastructure. In this, investor protection has also been taken into account. The pact provides comprehensive safeguards for investors. Okay, you can read into it. So it guarantees transparency, clear policies, robust legal recourse for investors. Independent dispute resolution establishes arbitration-based dispute settlement mechanism, removing investment uncertainties and ensuring enforceable right for investors. Transparency and regulatory certainty has also been developed. Sectoral and strategic cooperation, particularly in the field of cybersecurity, fintech, digital payment, joint R&D, and advanced manufacturing, will be enhanced between India and Israel. Institutional and economic integration. So it opens new opportunity for upskilling and high-skill job creation, especially in technology-driven domains, since they will be working in these strategic areas. Replacement of 90. So 1996 was the previous bilateral investment agreement. It will be replaced now, aligning new commitments with modern legal and economic standards. So third topic, news and shorts, India joins Health AI Regulatory Network. So India has joined Health AI Global Regulatory Network, GRN, to strengthen the oversight of AI in healthcare. India will work with Health AI alongside members such as UK and Singapore to share safety protocols and monitor AI performance in clinical settings. The move supports making India a global hub of skilled AI workforce. Okay, Health AI and GRN. Now, what are these? Health AI is Geneva-based, independent, non-profit organization, very important for PRE, that promotes equitable and access to AI-powered health innovations. It works with governments, international organizations, and global health leaders. Its major focus is AI governance and regulation to make healthcare safe, secure, and inclusive. Global Regulatory Network, on the other hand, is a platform for regulators to share safety standards, best practices, and oversight mechanisms. Members get access to global public repository of AI-related registered solutions for health. So this is a platform where global regulatory regulatory agencies can use the best practices across the world in regulating AI in healthcare. So what have been the location in news? So Ethiopia has been in news because it has inaugurated Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, Africa's largest hydropower project. Now location is in Guba, Ethiopia. Okay, on the Blue Nile, which is a major tributary of Nile, not on Nile, Blue Nile. I'll talk about it. Installed capacity is 6,450 megawatt, placing it among the world's top 20 hydroelectric dams. The dam remains contentious among downstream nations. So these are downstream nations. Okay, this is the Blue Nile, this is Nile, and these are the downstream nations. The dam remains contentious among downstream nations, including Egypt and Sudan. Okay. If you look at, this is the Blue Nile, and this is Nile, and this is Blue Nile. If you see, Khartoum is where both of them meet, and this is Lake Tana, that is where. So if you see, this is where dam is built here in Ethiopia. Now Singapore, as Singapore Prime Minister came, so we have a look where is Singapore, and on map Malacca Strait. Now this is Car Nicobar Island. This is India, as you know. So this is, sorry, wrong map. But if you see here, this is Singapore and this is Malacca Strait. Okay, I'll just for your, so here is Malacca Strait. As I said, this is Malacca Strait. Car Nicobar is very close to it. Singapore just is on the point where Malacca Strait is there. So India and Singapore, if they work together, it's a very small. Singapore is a city itself, but Changi Airport is there, and this is Singapore, where Singapore country is a very small place. It's not a big country, but in terms of economy, it is a good economy. So this is Singapore's significance geopolitically as well. Finally, Baltic Sea. Baltic Sea. Sweden has accused Russia of being behind a significant rise of instances of GPS signal jamming. It is saying that any planes which are passing over Baltic Sea, Sweden has accused that it is Russia which is jamming the GPS signal over Baltic Sea, raising concerns for aviation in region. GPS jamming, also known as GPS intervention, involves device which is jammer emitting strong radio signals on GPS frequencies in order to overpower weaker signals. Unlike GPS jamming, which disrupts signals entirely, GPS spoofing deceives the receiver into trusting false data. Spoofing is giving a false GPS data. But here, Sweden has accused Russia of GPS signal jamming. This is Baltic Sea. Okay, as you can see, this is Russia, and this is another Russian territory. Now you would say there is another Russian territory which is away from its mainland. So Russia has direct access to through land to Baltic Sea and another two places. Okay, other countries which are adjoining Baltic Sea: Lithuania. These are also known as Baltic states: Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Other countries are Finland, Sweden, and you can say Poland. Okay, these are the countries adjoining Baltic Sea. That's it for this year. This week's international relations weekend review, and for next week I'll be there with another video which will be covering some of the important international relations events, news and shorts, and locations. So stay tuned and please subscribe to learnwithupscprep.com. Thank you.